What is currently happening with the Madison area real estate market? This time of year, we start to see a very typical type of seasonality that's been happening the past 5 years. What that seasonality looks like is fewer buyer activity. Now, that doesn't really mean that there's less buyer demand because we're still seeing increasing numbers every single week for buyer home loan applications, but showing activity is definitely down. Showing activity tends to peak sometime in March or April, depending on how inventory is going with the market, and then we see it decrease continuously throughout the rest of the year. So no surprise, showing activity isn't where it was in the spring months a few months ago. Now, even with showing activity down and buyer demand high, we're still struggling, unfortunately, with inventory. Inventory also usually peaks around the spring, a little bit later in the spring though, around April, May, or June, depending on a lot of things with the weather, honestly, here in Wisconsin. But we haven't seen inventory get nearly to the levels that it was at last year, which is unfortunately still constricting the market and making it even more out of balance, more than we want it to be. With these low inventory levels, it's possible that inventory has actually already peaked for the year. Our team keeps track of inventory levels for single-family investment properties and condos every single week. And while we haven't seen a steep decline in new inventory hitting the market every week, we also haven't seen it consistently increase, which tells us that we might be past the highest inventory of the season. So what does this mean for buyers and sellers? For buyers, what this means is that there's unfortunately still not a lot of options available. There's fewer showings, so less buyers are out there looking, and you might be competing with less offers. But the buyers that are writing offers and that are competing are still being very competitive because they likely are the buyers who are still left who lost out on writing competitive offers in the earlier months. So if you're a buyer and you're looking, don't be shocked that even if there's only 2 or 3 offers instead of maybe 5 or 10 from earlier in the year, expect to still have to put your best foot forward because there's still a lot of competition out there, even with the fewer numbers. For sellers, it's still a great thing that inventory is still low. That means that, again, there's not a lot of competition for your house. Buyers cannot be too picky because there's just not a lot out there. So it's still a great time to sell. We still desperately need inventory. And even though interest rates are still high relative to where they were a couple years ago, buyers are still buying, demand is still high, and we still expect to see prices continue to increase throughout the summer, throughout this year, and into next year due to the inventory concerns. If you have questions on how the market will impact you for the rest of your home buying or selling journey this year or beyond, make sure to check out our website, huskyhomeswy.com.